Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Friday, a Final Takes Friday, live from Indianapolis here at the Combine as we are watching. Not live here. We had to come back to do the show and squeeze it in, but we're watching the safeties do on-field drills after they just got done with their 40s, and we saw Andrew Makuba, who, man, whenever he was talking to us yesterday at his media availability, was acting like he wasn't gonna go through workouts, and so
I'm glad he did.
apparently he did, and I'm glad he did. I'm sure that your Prize Picks account is glad that he did, and he ended up with an unofficial 4.46. We'll see if that holds up, and we'll make sure and keep you guys updated throughout the show about that. And also we're going to have Gunnar Helm here after they get done with the safeties for on-field drills. Whether we're on the air or not, I'm not sure, but we'll keep you guys updated with that. As far as Gunnar Helm, who checked in today at what weight?
241.
241 pounds. So we think he's probably going to run fast. As far as the betting markets, they have him somewhere between 4.75, 4.73. I'm interested to hear what the chat thinks, whether he'll go faster than that or not. I was a little bit hesitant to take it, but maybe I shouldn't be, because all Gunnar Helm's ever done is surpass my expectations whenever I've doubted him.
I kind of thought as I was typing in his height weight today, I was like 240, 241. Like I guess I don't remember. I guess we never got the Senior Bowl because he didn't go to the Senior Bowl. I don't remember what the Texas Longhorns depth chart had Gunnar Helm at. Let me look it up quick. Because I just kind of thought he was going to be at 252, 253. Yeah, so the Texas website had him at 250, 6'5", 250. He comes in at 241. I thought when he looked up on the podium yesterday, I thought he looked a little lean. And given what the Texas guys have done so far, obviously Jahdae Barron is a 4.39. I don't know if that's obvious or not. Vernon Broughton doesn't run. Collins doesn't run. And Barron Sorrell has a great day hitting the 4.6s. 4.6 good ranch. And then Makuba obviously has a 4.46 unofficial. The other guys, Bond, Blue, Golden, talking about running fast.
The track is heating up, man. We had today at the Combine, and we're going to have all kinds of inside information about the Longhorns. It's going to be a different kind of final takes because Cody and I didn't have time today to load in the final takes for as far as actual questions. But we did have an awesome war room last night where Cody and I probably had about 30 different nuggets from around here. We'll just kind of give you guys some of those and a glimpse into what some of the premium content is over at Orange Bloods. And we'll just kind of give our takes about what we reported and, all that stuff. But you guys remember, we're going to put up the voting. Whenever we do, you guys make sure to vote for Alex as far as the king of final takes this week. We've gotten, what?
We tied
3 weeks.
5 weeks?
Yeah, 3 straight weeks of ties, man. We can't keep having all these ties. So make sure to vote for Alex whenever the final takes voting kicks off. As far as the others from today, we saw Jahdae Barron, who 4.39 official. Like the track feels like it's heating up. Scatabo earlier, whenever he was meeting with the media, says he's not going to run. He thinks he's going to run fast, but he's not going to run because apparently this new artificial surface, it's not even the surface that's different. Apparently, it's like the little rubber pellets are different. They apparently wanted to.
It's kind of like an irrigation thing with grass. They irrigate the grass every year. For like turf, they bring a new layer of these rubber pellets, or the really just used tires, shredded up tires, and then they swipe. What's the word? They take like a sweeper over it,
sift it
over there, so it's like a fresh.
But apparently, the new material that they're using for these is some kind of maybe new. Sustainable, not that that's bad, but it's one of these things where it's kind of a new thing, more, I guess, environmentally friendly. And, Scatabo was saying that he's going to wait to go ahead and run back home. And I was thinking, well, that could be true because, it wasn't like we'd seen, anything that was overly impressive on day one as far as what was expected of these players versus what actually happened. And then today, I'm just like, I'm not worried about the track anymore. We've had guys running super fast today. So that's sort of. Do you have anything to say about Barron before we get to final takes, or anything about like today?
I think Jade Barron solidified himself. There was a lot of conversation about Jade Barron over the course of the last month, and there's been a lot of cornerbacks in the NFL draft circles. Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, Shivan Ravel from Eastern Carolina. I don't even know if I'm saying that one right. Will Johnson from Michigan. These were the three known corners. Of course, you have Travis Hunter from Colorado, who plays receiver and corner. But Jade put himself in that conversation this year. And over the course of the last month, we've heard more and more guys come out, whether it's Todd McShay or Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network. Oh, he's a top 10 guy. He's my 9th guy. He's my 7th guy. He's my 12th guy. Well, today, with what Jade Barron put on the field, and again, his arm length was sub 30 inches. Everything was a little small. He's a little small. But running that 4.39, Alex, I believe and Will Johnson didn't participate in any of the on-field activities today. And the rumor was because he thought he was going to be slow. Ben Morrison's coming off an injury. Ravel's coming off an injury. And Barron runs fast. I think what I turned to you and said immediately was, I think that proves he can play on the outside, because usually they worry a little bit with speed on the outside. We already knew Barron could play everywhere. I think this solidifies him as a top 15 pick. Solidify, lock, turn the key, throw it in the trash. Well, just like that credential from that guy today.
Yeah, that was weird, man. We were walking in today, and this dude was like walking out of the convention center. He takes his credential off, like rips it off, it just throws it in the trash can. We're like, well, I guess that guy's had enough. I have no idea what's going on there. The thing, Cody laid it out perfectly, but I would just say that we've talked about it here, and it's the fact that with Jade Barron is his true value, his versatility. And if his true value is his versatility, what does that actually mean to an NFL team? And what we've heard and what we reported yesterday is that what we've heard is people are scared to death now of saying, like, I'm not going to care about a guy being versatile and being super good in the nickel and things like that, because I don't want to be the guy that recommended missing out on Cooper DeJean, the guy that recommended missing out on Brian Branch, all the rest of that. We went over that yesterday, right? But we're like, can he be a true outside corner? Because that's the kind of player where even the old school, like the boomer thinking, like even
you can't draft a nickel in the first round.
You can get even somebody like that on board, and trust me, the upper echelons of these scouting staffs have those guys on board. Yep. They have these historical precedents, these benchmarks that they always go to, these hard and fast rules. And I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm not saying that that's bad at all. I mean, of course, you need to evolve, right? But I kind of think it's true that you shouldn't draft a quarterback with hands under 9 inches. I kind of think it's true. You shouldn't ever draft a corner that runs anything over 4.69. Like they're these old standbys, right? One of them is if we're going to spend a premium pick, a true first round grade pick, which is say the top 15, it's got to be either somebody at one of the premium positions, or somebody who's an absolute world changer. And you can make an argument that Jade Barron was a world changer. I'm not sure I saw him quite as that. I saw him as being one of the best players in the country. Not somebody that I would say is just
his knowledge and leadership is also like a real feather in his cap.
Yes, but any questions you had about his speed and his ability to be able to play in trail technique, bail technique, any of this stuff for a traditional outside corner, cloud, right? Any of this stuff, where you have to redirect his stem and then get behind him and trail, all the rest, and really be able to catch up with some of the fastest wide receivers there are. He just ran a 4.39.
Yeah.
And so now it's like that's off the table. It's wheels up for Jade Barron. And at this point, it's almost like I wish we could ask the sports books and just say, can you give us a line for who goes first between Kelvin Banks and Jade Barron?
I think you'd get a minus on Barron.
You think Barron would be the favorite to go first?
Yeah, I also think we're going to learn a little bit more in the morning. Not tomorrow morning. No, it'll be Sunday morning. We're going to find out what Kelvin Banks' arm length. You talk about these thresholds of 4.69 40. You talk about the there's a 10-yard split they look at for defensive tackles, like all these different things. 34-inch arms for Kelvin Banks. People are worried about it, and I don't know. I just think that there's a rise in that tackle position with the guys like Armin Membu, Will Campbell still sitting up there. We've heard the Josh Simmons stuff. There's just a couple more guys that have they're in the conversation and being talked about ahead of Banks already, whereas Barron has blown past all the other cornerbacks outside of Travis Hunter, of course, who's a dual sport guy. It's a kind of an anomaly. And he's the number one corner, where Banks, I don't think he is no longer the clear number one tackle.
No, not without. And I've been studying the Missouri offense quite a bit just because I've been trying to really wrap my head around Luther Burden, because we have a fantasy football company where they depend on us for information over at Roster Watch about these rookies coming out. I've been concerned about Luther Burden and his lack of production in 2024 as it compared to 2023, right? And as I continue watching Missouri, all I keep watching is the right tackle, number 79. Armin Membu, and I've become very infatuated with him. And as I'm asking people around Indy about him, there are many, many people who have him as their top offensive tackle. I wasn't even considering that before. I wasn't considering Josh Simmons from Ohio State before. People say it doesn't matter that he's coming off the injury, right? That they still like him long term as far as his potential outlook. So. It's a great day for Jahdae Barron, great day for Makuba. We'll see here, and we'll keep you updated. And I'm sure the chat will keep you updated as far as what goes on with Gunnar Helm if we're still on the air whenever he goes. Cody, just before we get into some of these nuggets, I guess these final takes nuggets, let's talk about what we heard at the media availabilities today from Quinn Ewers, from Jaden Blue, from Isaiah Bond, and Matthew Golden. I think the top thing that stands out to me in the big headlines, of course, were that these guys, Isaiah Bond and Jaden Blue, both say that they're going to break Xavier Worthy's combine record in the 40 tomorrow.
And they both kind of had similar phrasings too. They're like 4.2 and maybe 4.1.
So I mean,
I'm breaking the record, and I'm going to run 4.2, and I might run 4.1.
Look. I don't think that that's happening.
I mean, the track is fast, and I think those guys are fast, but this is a different thing. Like this, and I guess only they will know. We'll say this, but the thing about track speed and about football speed, this event is much more track speed. And the one thing we know about Xavier Worthy is he had the track background. Arian Smith from Georgia is like a 10-1-8, 100-meter dash track background. I don't personally, off the top of my dome, know if Bond or Blue ever ran track, or if they did, what the extent of success was.
But they did, but it wasn't world class, ever since they were, little kids, and then all the way through.
And they're also, to me, they're much more like dynamic athletes rather than like a blazing athlete. Like when you look at Worthy, remember the play that always comes to my mind is that Wyoming one when he's on the outside and he beats those three guys that all had great angles on him, right? And he just all of a sudden it was like whoop, and he was gone.
Yeah.
And that's what some of these guys, when you watch them, especially in the 40 when we're in the stadium watching them, and it's like a good start, not always great, and then it's all of a sudden just a blur. Whereas these bursty dynamic guys like a Bond and a Blue, for example, that come to my mind, is that these guys are really good out of the gate, and then they just don't have that next gear once they get to the 25 and they lift their head. And I think that's where Bond and Blue, we'll see what happens.
Well, their line of thinking is what Jaden Blue's line of thinking is I used to race Xavier Worthy and I would beat him half the time.
Yeah.
I guess it's a fine thing to think. I just don't know if, standing on the goal line and running 40 yards or whatever their race was is the same as kind of getting down, getting in your sprinter stance, having to hold an arm up like all the way like this, having to stay still until you're ready to go, and then just getting out like that. It feels like a ton of experience getting out of the blocks and Track athletes. I'm sure that there are people in the chat that have been track athletes. For me, it was never doing anything besides throwing stuff. So I don't know the mechanics of how it works, but you hear these track people and these combine trainers talk about, well, during this block you do this and like all the rest. So we'll see. I think that their confidence is. I've never heard a group of guys, especially from the same school, just come out and say like Isaiah Bond was just asked like, are you doing all the drills? You plan on running your 40? And he's like, I'm going to break the record. So his line of thinking is him and Blue race all the time, and he wins versus Blue sometimes, and Blue would win versus Worthy, and so one thing leads to the neck bone's connected to the thigh bone or whatever, and they just that's the way that they've kind of put this all together. I'm not sure that I don't think it's going to happen, but I think
they both run at least like a 4.30, 4.29. I think they're both in that area.
That would be that. I mean, I think that's even a.
I think they both hit.
I think that's even a little bit.
Well, I won't be the coward here. I'll say they both hit 4.29. That's my prediction. They both hit 4.29.
It's not a cowardly thing. I think like four. There's not that much difference between that and a 4.3 or 4.31, right? Yeah. So
Final take. They're both running 4.29s tomorrow.
All right.
And Golden's running the 4.3s.
Let's get to the rest of the final takes, but
that's why you should vote for me. I'm going to put the voting up right now.
And do you know what else you should put up right now? Some kind of graphic for Texas beef traders, or Andy Ludicky, myperfectfranchise.net. Have you heard about myperfectfranchise.net? Do you want to make a change in your life? Do you want financial freedom? Hey, have you ever thought about just what it might be like to generate passive income through franchise? If you have, Andy Ludicky is the man to call. myperfectfranchise.net is they're going to set you up in something that's zero cost to you as far as his consultation, his services. He's going to tell you about the market that you live in, the market that you're interested in investing in as far as a future opportunity, right? And he's going to tell you, well, they need this good or service. They need this good or service. This kind of thing is done well here. He's going to show you study after study, and you don't have to pay Andy anything to do this. He wants to help you, and Andy's very, very rich. He's super rich. Okay, whenever you talk to him, you'll hear about all the franchises that he started. His phone number is 404-973-9901. He's our good friend. Please call Andy Ludicky, myperfectfranchise.net. Okay. Cody, you want to get into final takes here?
Let's do it.
Look, there's all these things. Should I just scroll through and just pick a random one?
I mean, there's like a 30 piece of tenders in there. You might as well grab some ranch and pick one of them.
All right, so I'll click here. Okay, so I spoke with. So there was a few North Carolina players at this event. A couple of them played on the offensive line, some on the defensive line. So we made sure to ask them about new transfer Travis Shaw to Texas, the defensive tackle transfer. Likely your starting 3-tech to start spring. Defensive lineman Kymon Rucker, he said this, Travis Shaw, his potential is limitless, man. It's through the roof, and I think Texas is going to definitely bring the most out of him. Texas has been known to develop some of the great defensive linemen over these past years, and I think they're going to take great care of him. It's one of those situations where it's hard to see him go, but you love to watch him leave. On what his best attributes were, he said, I feel like his strength is his best attribute, but he's a lot more nimble than what people might think. For him to be at 330 and 6'6", he has great feet. He's a great run stopper, and he can get after the QB as well. People shouldn't sleep on that. He's a great overall interior defensive lineman, and I think he's going to make a lot of noise at Texas. And then we had Power Eccles, a linebacker that worked out yesterday. He said Texas is getting a freak of nature for sure. Somebody that just has raw talent, has matured a lot over the last year. What they're getting is a great player. So Travis Shaw, a lot of talk about freak of nature, a lot of talk about growth over the last year. And I think, Cody, that's what's most important when you think about a guy like Shaw, a guy that came in as a 5-star, one of the top defensive tackles in the nation to UNC. And the thing was, is he going to put it all together? And is he going to finally I've talked a little bit about how, I think little stuff about pad level and, little stuff about not an inconsistent motor and not an on-off switch, but just a little bit of level of effort from play to play, right? Those are the kinds of things where as you mature and you understand, it's like, all right, I'm getting in here to my third year in college. I need to start making moves, and this is what's being asked of me. I have an opportunity here to make generational wealth. I have these gifts. They're saying that they've seen that sort of beginning of growth and maturity, which leads me to believe that once he gets to Texas, he has a chance to come to Texas and have this be his launch pad into just a different level about where people are thinking about him, not as somebody with all the potential in the world, but he's got to harness it to somebody who it's like, whoa, man, look at what Texas is doing here with this guy.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I think that's going to be the door that opens. Is we've now seen when obviously Bo Davis was at Texas, you had Devondre Sweat, you had Byron Murphy progress through, become top 50 picks. Kenny Baker enters chat
with a very tough assignment.
Yes. But then we have Kenny Baker who enters the chat left, and Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins a year ago right now. Vernon Broughton's off getting married, skipped spring ball. Alfred Collins is like still on the milk carton in the back of the newspaper in the classifieds. You don't know what's going to happen at the defensive tackle position. You go out, you get Lole, you get Bill Norton, you get Tia Savea, and we're sitting here talking, what is going to happen? And I think it's proven track record now that if there's experience and if there's a coach you can depend on in that defensive tackle room, they're going to get these guys through, especially when they're how I messed that phrase.
Whenever they're men children,
they're like
man-sized
children, right?
Yep.
They're still young dudes. And Travis Shaw is that. Travis Shaw is a man-child. He's a 5-star, massive human being. Goes to North Carolina. Maybe he's not all the way mature. Now he comes to Texas. Now you got Kenny Baker, who now is going to have 2 draft picks in 1 year, where you could have said a year ago, Broughton and Collins, outside of Collins' length, he's probably not really on anybody's draft boards or even in their thought process.
He was because of –
I was going to say outside of his length.
Oh, right.
Right? So now fast forward a year, you get Alfred Collins conversations in the early second round. That quick. And Vernon Broughton's length is up there with Collins's. Point is, I think we can trust Kenny Baker now. And I think that if he can get Travis Shaw dialed in, I think the culture's built. And one of the notes that was in here when we were talking to a source was just his overarching thought of there's no more diva mentality. There's no more divas, and there's no more diva culture at Texas. And what that does is if you bring in a guy that maybe isn't all the way there mentally, he isn't all the way there prepared, he isn't professional yet, that you bring him into this culture and it switches. Or you see him get booted. Like you see him those guys just kind of get wiped out and they're gone the next year.
We hope that doesn't happen with Shaw.
I'm not saying that's what I'm saying, but I'm just saying that's what a good culture shows. And I believe that that's what Kenny Baker can bring through with Travis Shaw is I do believe a year. It's just what I'm trying to say is it's crazy a year later now. Whereas like we're sitting at the Senior Bowl last year, we're like, well, Kenny Baker's the new defensive line coach. What does that mean? We don't even know who this guy is. Vernon Broughton. Don't even know what he's going to do. Alfred Collins,
these guys
fast forward a year. Look what happened.
These guys actually could not be good.
Look what happened a year later.
No, it's true. So exciting news there about Travis Shaw, and you bring up Alfred Collins. I think something that this is not something randomly picked. It's just something. One of the notes that we had was that we were talking to somebody in the scouting side of things who said that it's basically He just says he thinks it's a lock that Alfred Collins goes before Cam Williams, and the reason why was I think, man, there are concerns about Cam Williams's yo-yo weight pattern. Super interested to see what he weighs in here for. There are major concerns about his tape, most specifically in the first Georgia game and in the Ohio State game. And now he was hurt in that Ohio State game. I get it. But it was bad, right? They said, this person said that tape was really bad. It was really concerning. And there's also some stuff wherever apparently Cam Williams has been leaving basically everything to be desired as far as his whiteboard work. I'm just passing along what we've been told. Cody, your thoughts on that?
Not good. I think that it's weird that, to me, Cam has always come off as like this. Maybe this is wrong of me to always think, but Cam has always come off to me as like this larger than life human being. And I think when we see measurements come in, we may be surprised. I think he'll obviously have some big hands, probably some long arms, but like he might just be like a straight up 6'5", 318. And when you think of Cam Williams, my brain doesn't think of 6'5", 318. My brain thinks of like 6'6" plus 350, like big human, long arms, like a big project, right?
Yeah.
And I just wonder if, with a little bit of potential injury there with the knees or question marks about the knees, we'll obviously learn what happens with the medicals here in the next couple of months. With the yo-yo tape, with the great start, not great finish, with not having 20 career starts under his belt. We saw like Amarius Mims last year from Georgia, who had 9 career starts, and you could tell a story,
right?
And he was an athlete, and he goes in the first round. Cam, it's a lot harder to tell that story because of injuries, because of tape, because of off-field stuff.
He's not going to test here.
And he's not going to – no, there's 0% chance he's going to test.
Yeah.
There's a 0% chance, I would say, because we heard that there was an off-season something, scope, surgery, whatever it may have been, within the last 2 months. So I would venture to bet he pushes that thing off to the pro day, if anything.
And
I'm worried.
And then there becomes just a concern about what his weight would be.
Sub 320.
Yeah.
320 maybe.
It's like, I think NFL teams understand. It's like, well, this is a guy who, whenever he's playing well at Texas and stuff like that, he got down to like 335, something like that.
That's what
like,
he was listed
he was playing really well at that kind of 335, 340 range that he was originally listed at Texas, and then just kind of things went down not down the tubes. Texas, Texas. It wasn't like it was a terrible fall, but man, there were some tough games, man, for Cam Williams, and the fact is, one of those tough games came the first time versus Georgia, whenever he was still fully healthy.
Official 4.45 for Andrew Makuba.
4.45.
4.45.
What was Malachi Starks' official?
4.50.
So that was official. Okay. Let's see here. We got some intel from.
Can I talk about this Jabbar Muhammad thing? Because this is one that I thought was interesting, and I remember talking about it a lot. I know Ketch talked about it on House Divided a lot with Chad. Jabbar Muhammad, who's Manny Muhammad's cousin, transferred from Washington to Oregon, and he was available, so I walked up and talked to him. Nobody was talking to him. Actually, the one guy that was talking to him was like, "Hey, you're short," and I was like, "This is awkward." I talked about that yesterday. So I asked him. I said, when you jumped into the portal, was there conversation? Did you have conversations with Texas? Did you have an intention to go to Texas? Because if you recall, during that process, there was a lot of people that came out and said, there's a Texas lean here. There's an obvious connection here. And what Jabbar said is, he goes, I thought about it, obviously, but at the end of the day, it was about fit for me, and Oregon was the best fit. I asked about playing with Manny. He said it would have been great. We talked about it almost every single day I was in the portal, and it would have been great. But at the end of the day, I kind of had to take my emotions out of it and kind of figure out what was best for me, and that was Oregon. I know a lot of family was talking about it and a lot of everything like that, but like I said, it was the best for me. And I think that you look at the defensive backfield for Texas this last year and you go, that was the best for him.
I just kind of put it together in my head. It's like he would have come, and like him and his cousin would have been having to like battle each other.
Yeah.
They're different body types, and so I don't know exactly how that would have worked.
There really, honestly, wouldn't have been a great. There really wouldn't have been a spot.
It wouldn't have been a great situation. He would have Jabbar Muhammad probably would have had to have been battling Gavin Holmes for the snaps that he was playing in the dime package.
or even a little bit of Gilbo. Because he's like 5'9", 1 like he's a guy that I think he's going to be an inside guy in the NFL. But
yeah,
I just thought it was interesting because I just remember that being one of the main conversations. I can't remember if it was last spring or last winter, but Jabbar Muhammad, there was real conversation there. Him and Manny talked about it every single day during the portal. His family talked about it every single day, and he took the best fit, which was Oregon, and now he's going to be probably drafted in like the 5th or 6th round.
Can anybody represent Texas or just their university or anything better than Quinn than these Texas guys? And Quinn today, I thought was awesome at the podium. Talked a lot about it. I think he's a great guy.
He's put some weight on, by the way.
Yep. I'll be interested to see what he weighs in at. What do you think it'll be?
218.
Yeah, I was gonna say 216, but so we're right in the pocket. I'll just say, and this is I'm not flaming Quinn Ewers here. I really am not. But whenever he keeps getting asked,
there's intention behind these answers.
His best attributes as a quarterback, and he just says he really thinks that it's resiliency. And he didn't say it in a way that like I'm good at coming back from injuries, right? He was saying it in a way it's like, look, in the NFL, just like in college, it's a tough position. You're gonna face adversity, right? And in life you're gonna face adversity. It's like we all will. It's like if you haven't, you will, right? That's kind of how things go, right? And certainly that's true of the quarterback position. I will say though, man, and our note about this is as we've talked to people here in Indy, it feels like the general consensus whenever you talk to Quinn, if you just take the average of what everybody says, right? It feels like he's going to be a 3rd round pick. And I haven't heard anybody say anything about any kind of 1st round stuff.
Well, I thought it was interesting that like he talked about in the podium, like his best thing, which was his arm. Like he talked about his arm, his arm, his throwing ability. And he goes, that's why, I mean, this is pretty much, I mean, this is all easy. He goes, I just know that.
He goes, I'm a quarterback. He's like throwing against the air. That should be the easiest thing I'm ever going to do.
And then he's like, for me anyway. So it's like he expects to come in here and have a great throwing session. And we've talked about it. Yes, everything we've heard has been more in that 3rd round range. But I do believe with the Shedeur Sanders from Colorado and Cam Ward opt out from Miami, I think that the door is going to be wide open tomorrow. He's going to be throwing back-to-back with Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, who's been in those conversations. Tyler Shuck will be in the late window, so it's going to be Ewers and Dart, Ewers and Dart, Ewers and Dart. And to be honest with you, Alex, if Dart didn't open it up at the Senior Bowl, and I think if both of these guys open it up, I think Quinn has a better arm, and this is a setting that can show that. And I think we could be right back into early 2nd round conversation with Quinn Ewers.
We have a note about gosh, there are just so many. I'm trying to think. Did we talk yesterday about what Landon Jackson said about Lance?
No, we didn't. Landon also freakish athlete yesterday.
Yeah. So Landon Jackson. So I went to ask him about what he's talked about with his brother Lance Jackson, of course, at Texas since he got here, and he goes he's loving it. Dude has a mindset like me. So he went in there instantly and is just working his tail off in the weight room, trying to put on some weight. And his goal right now is to make an impact his freshman year and be a freshman All-American. So that's his stated goal. That's something that those two have talked about. I stopped him. I was like, what? So he's saying that he wants to be a freshman All-American this year. He's like, yeah, man, he wants to play. He wants to go out there and play as much as he possibly can, like right now. He said, so I'm excited to see what he does this spring and then coming into next season. And I said, all right, so what is it? Is he playing? Is it just all defensive end right now? Are they doing anything with kind of moving him inside? Because we all know that Lance Jackson eventually feels like a player that will be moved inside, at least in some degree, and possibly in sub packages. It it feels like who knows? What if he grows into a 305-pound killer of a strong side defensive end? I mean, I guess that's not out of the question. But with Colton Vasek hurt this spring, and his body may be transitioning to his eventual weight, which could let him be what I think is just a hellacious 3 technique. He has an opportunity right now, and he's saying no. He's playing defensive end. His plan as of right now is to play defensive end. So
I think he's probably got the length to do it and do it on day one. I mean, I'll be interested to see when we do get those Lance, if we get those Lance height weights in the spring, what those look like.
We're gonna get those. I mean, they have to put out a spring roster.
Okay, fair. We're gonna get them, but I'm gonna be interested to see what it is because Landon, I feel like he's always been listed at 6'8". He comes in, measures 6'6" flat, 264. Obviously a little light because he has to run, and he jumps 40 inches, jumps 10 foot broad, runs a 4.68. That's in the gene pool for Lance Jackson.
Yeah.
And Lance, when you go back and look at senior year, junior year rivals camp videos of Landon,
right?
Lance, different ball game.
Like more string beanie.
Yeah, and Lance is like third year Landon,
but big broad shoulders and stuff. You could tell that Landon was.
But I'm talking about filled out the Lance is year 3 Landon frame,
right?
And he's been training, and what he told us at the SEC media days back in June or July was that Lance is working out with me. He's training to prepare to play year 1 and be ready. He's going to know all these drills before he even walks into camp. So now this is just further, telling us that he's already doing that. He's preparing for it. We shouldn't be surprised when you get out there for spring practice and Lance looks the part when there's guys like Ethan Burke and Colton Vasek on that side that leave the door open potentially or leave the light on for Lance.
Look, Ethan Burke's going to start over there, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like there was absolutely no rotation over at that spot last year. Ethan Burke played a lot whenever Barron Sorrell wasn't playing. So of course we're gonna have Justice Terry over there in the mix. That's gonna be just a fantastic storyline to monitor. What's going on in that spot with these two outstanding 5-star freshmen, and Justice Terry and Lance Jackson, who are eventually candidates to move into 3 technique, but out of circumstance as far as what's going on the roster and as far as just the way that their bodies are built right now, or having to play this strong side defensive end and kind of gain that versatility, how that shakes out. I know Justice Terry is technically higher ranked than Lance Jackson, but I mean, would it be that crazy to think that Lance Jackson thinks he wants to be a freshman All-American? I'm not sure.
I'm not going to tell him no.
I'm not going to tell Justice Terry no either, but he probably wants to be.
And he's had a good spring, or winter, whatever you want to call it.
These kinds of question marks are definitely the sign of a good program. The sign of a good steak is when you're getting it at Texas Beef Traders, right?
I love Texas Beef Traders, and I'm looking forward to being in Austin and coming to Lakeway next week so I can go stop at Texas Beef Traders.
Go stop at Texas Beef Traders, pick up some beef,
and see Darren. I want to see Darren more, I think, than getting the beef.
That's the most important thing is you got to go in there, you got to see Darren, and if you go on the weekends, there's going to be a little menu in there. There's going to be, you can try a little bit of stuff, try some wine, everything. What I would recommend doing is just whenever he offers you something, just take him up on it, right? And he's going to say, are you hungry? Just say yes. It's not like he's roping you into giving him money to do this stuff. He's going to cook you up some samples and just give it a try. You could end up staying 3 hours, 4 hours, and you could end up coming back next week to do the exact same thing. That's how much fun it is at Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com, right there in the heart of Lakeway. You get 10% off. The meat is from local ranches, 3 different local ranches, none of them more than 90 miles away from that final destination right there in Lakeway. You know it's fresh. You know it was brought in from the there was an old lady that came in there last week, right? And she was like, it was whatever it was, 2/18 or something. February 18th or something is the date whenever it said that the meat had the date on the meat, right? And the day I was there, it was like the meat comes in on Wednesdays, and she was buying her ground beef, and she's like, this ground beef's expired. It says 218, and he's like, no. That was the day that meat was processed. It was processed two days ago. It's never been frozen. Like that's not the expiration date. That's the date that it was created. That's how fresh the meat is there. All natural, no antibiotics, no vaccines, no anything. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com, and make sure that you tell them you heard from them on Football with Friends. You get 10% off. All right. Got a few more final takes we can squeeze in here, Cody. Anything sort of stick out to you? You want to talk about how scouts are already talking about Trevor Gooseby?
I'd like to do that, but first, you guys need to vote. There's 10 votes in here, and I shouldn't even be I should be the one asking for them because I'm getting hosed right now in the chat. 80 to 20, 80% in favor of Alex right now.
There's only 10 votes?
Only 10 votes.
Dude, I saw like 700 people watching.
On a Friday. But no, I want to talk about Trevor Gooseby because this is a note I had in the war room maybe 3 weeks, a month ago about I talked to somebody that I was talking about the tackles. I was talking about Cam and I was talking about Kelvin Banks. And he goes, well, what about that other kid? The other kid, like I'm telling you right now, in May when the NFL draft is over and I do the 2026 way too early mock, Gooseby's going to be in my first round. Like he has the intangibles, he has the length, the way he played in his short availabilities. And he goes, the tackle class next year really isn't that great. So the door is wide open for Gooseby to vault quickly. And then we come here and unsolicited, Gooseby's brought up again.
Well, it's because these scouts who we talk to, it's like at this point, they've done all their work on the Texas guys. For us, it's just bugging them to give us information that we can pass on. And, we would never do anything to tell anybody who our sources. They trust us, right? And they know that that's why we're trying to get the information, right? But in these are information exchanges. They know that, me and Cody now too, it's like we spend a lot of time analyzing these players, talking about these players, being around this program, understanding sort of what's what with this program. And so as soon as that information exchange happens with like what they tell us about what's going to happen with these Texas guys, right? Matthew Golden's going to go round one. There's question marks about Isaiah Bond because, my scouting staff was getting bad feedback from the people at Alabama, even from some people at Texas about him, yada, yada, yada. These types of bits of inside information. They're like, but hey, man, while I got you here, what about number 74 that came in versus A&M versus Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton? And you say like, well, dude, I mean, all right, that's Trevor Gooseby, and he was a redshirt freshman this year, and the staff obviously thought highly enough of him as compared to the other tackle that they have, which is a 5-star Brandon Baker at the right tackle, to say even that whenever the right tackle got hurt, he goes in. He was their backup swing tackle at both positions, and if you're asking me about my grade, they said, well, how did he grade out for you? And I said, he graded out immensely. He graded out like a dude who, if he played every game like that, he would be going pro, and they're like, well, that's how he looked to me. He looked to me like that kind of guy. So there was another person who, as Cody mentioned, talked about that guy, he looks like a guy next year that we're going to be talking about for like first round stuff. And so these are not only media people, like Cody said, for the mock draft or all the rest. These are actual scouts that are trying to get information from me and from Cody about what more can I know about this guy? What's the background story of this guy? So don't
be shocked if he's only there for 1 year. I'll say that part.
And to be completely honest, dude, I think it's kind of terrifying for Texas if Gooseby
it's going to be hard to keep a Gooseby if he's a top 12 projected player in the draft next year, and you're like, well, hey man, can you come back for $2 million? He's going to be like, well, man, I can make $2 million. I'll make more than $2 million in my signing bonus.
Well, that just means it's just terrifying, and that, man, Texas needs to get like Felix Ojo and
Crampin
and hopefully Turrentine.
This trifecta.
This needs to be a big recruiting class. All right, Cody, let's get one final one from you.
All right, one more final take. Let me think here. There's if you haven't already, make sure you go over to orangebloods.com. You can get this whole 30 piece of nuggets.
And remember, there's a survey.
There's
a survey. If we can scan that QR code, so there's the Orange Blood survey. It would really help us if you guys did this. We're trying to get more input from you guys. It doesn't take anything but a few minutes, and if you could just let them know what you think about the various shows that you watch, about your viewing habits, it'll help us tailor the experience to make it better for you. And also, of course, man, if you can give a shout out to your boys, Cody and Alex, man, Football with Friends, we would certainly appreciate that. But if you can't scan the QR code right now, or you're a total boomer like me that doesn't like to do it, there's an easy link that's in the description on YouTube. So if you're watching this on X, which it looks like most of you are right now, if you could just go to the Orange Bloods YouTube page, there are links up to this survey all over the place. It would be really helpful. We hardly ever ask you for anything around here. And the only thing that we're asking you right now is to help us make your experience better here on the channel.
There it is. My last note here will be one that you actually talked to this player. I talked to somebody in the media side that is close to the Ohio State program. Both had the same thought. JT Tuimaleo and JTT from Ohio State, when asked about Lee Allen Clark, the new edge rush coach for Texas. So like we just talked about a minute ago, Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, Justice Terry, Lance Jackson, Ethan Burke, the sick edge room now. Allen Clark is there, who just came from Ohio State, where he had Jack Sawyer, JTT. You can go on and on this last year about that room. Was asked about him. What's he bringing to Texas?
I asked him.
You asked him. And JTT said, "Are you from Texas?" And then he goes, "Y'all stole one, man. Y'all stole one." The same exact thing was iterated from a media person that is close to the Ohio State program. And I said, "What do you think? Did Ohio State like want to keep him? Like, what was obviously most coaches, most staffs want to keep their coach." But I said, "What was the thought around Allen Clark?" And he goes, "They did not want to let him go at all."
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, it's like JTT said. He said he's super young, so he's really good at connecting. And he just says, "That's my dude." He just said I can't say anything bad about him because him going to I don't want him to leave, but he's like, at Texas, they've been turning out some really good players lately, and it's a step up for him as far as he was some kind of assistant there under Jim Knowles, and he's like, and Coach Jay left, and you can kind of see why he would do it, but he's like, man, like, I'm gonna have to come down there and just see that room. He said that all of his prayers and his blessings are going to be going towards that. He loves Allen Clark. And by the way, I have never seen just a more upstanding group of like young Christian gentlemen than these Ohio State players. These guys are out here spreading the word, man. And I really respect them for that. But JTT, man, he is. If the way that he talks about Allen Clark is the look that came over his face. If he's 1/10 as good as this guy makes him out to be, it's Texas got another good one, man.
How smart of a career move? Last thought here. How smart of a career move was it for Allen Clark, who just had JTT and Jack Sawyer? He was working with these guys for the last year to now go, all right, if there's one spot I'm going to go to Texas, where they got these animals that are going to be first-round pick, second-round pick, first-round pick, hey, that's a resume builder right there.
I'm going to go coach me some Colin Simmons. Now, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can find us on X, at Alex Dunlap NFL, at Cody Carpentier. You can follow the show at FWF_OB. Again, guys, please sign up for that survey. Or you don't have to sign up for anything. Just please go take the survey. It's in the description below. Super easy to find. All that we'll ask, if you can please like the show, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back to our regular schedule next week. I know we've been a little, we've had a little bit of a concerning yo-yo kind of a discipline this week with the times of the shows, but it's just because we have so much going on here in Indianapolis, just trying to bring you all the information that we can. But back on Monday, 6 to 7 p.m. Central, All we ask is that you continue to come back. Tell a friend, right? We love you guys, man. Have a great weekend. God bless you. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.